For centuries, we've looked to the bones, the fossils, and the tools left behind to understand the story of our ancestors. But beneath these relics lies something far more elusive, the Earth itself, a vast and silent archive of life. Layer upon layer of soil conceals the microscopic echoes of the past. Grains of pollen, fragments of bone, and even the faint genetic fingerprints of creatures long vanished. And now, with revolutionary new technology, scientists can extract these traces, tiny threads of ancient DNA, to rebuild worlds lost for tens of thousands of years. One of the most extraordinary breakthroughs in this field comes from a single grave deep within the mountains of northern Spain. Here, in the dim recesses of El Mirón Cave, archaeologists uncovered the ochre-stained bones of a woman who lived nearly 19,000 years ago, at the very end of the last ice age. She became known as the Red Lady of El Mirón, a name born not of royalty, but of ritual. Her bones coated in vivid red pigment, as though she had been prepared for a journey beyond death itself. For decades, her discovery remained a symbol of Europe's ancient past, a window into the Magdalenian culture, a people who thrived amid the frozen frontiers of the Upper Paleolithic. But today, thanks to a groundbreaking method known as sedimentary ancient DNA, scientists are not only learning who she was, but are beginning to reconstruct the entire ecosystem that surrounded her world. The Upper Paleolithic, spanning roughly 50,000 to 12,000 years ago, was an age of extremes. It followed the peak of the last glacial maximum, a time when massive ice sheets stretched across Europe, North America, and Asia. Between 26,000 and 19,000 years ago, the climate was brutally cold. Vast tundras replaced forests, the earth froze, and life itself, human or otherwise, clung to existence at the edges of survival. In this frozen landscape, the Neanderthals, our closest evolutionary cousins, had already vanished, gone by about 40,000 years ago. The world now belonged to the hunter-gatherers of the late Ice Age, people who adapted, innovated, and endured against overwhelming odds. Among them were the Magdalenian people, masters of art, craftsmanship, and survival. They carved their stories into cave walls, painting herds of mammoths, bison, and wild horses beneath flickering firelight. They crafted intricate tools from antler, bone, and stone, the instruments of both life and ritual. And it was within this world that the Red Lady of El Mirón lived and died. Her story began in 2010, when archaeologists from the University of New Mexico began excavations inside El Mirón Cave, tucked into the rugged Cantabrian mountains of northern Spain. What they found was astonishing: a burial chamber deep within the cave, hidden and untouched for millennia. Her bones, though incomplete, some scattered or lost to time, still bore signs of deliberate care. And what set her apart from countless other Ice Age burials was a striking detail: a thick coating of red ochre covering her remains. Ochre, a natural pigment made from iron oxide, has been used by humans for tens of thousands of years. But here, its presence spoke of ritual, of meaning beyond death. It suggested a burial of reverence, of symbolism, perhaps even of belief in life beyond the grave. Who was she? Why was she buried this way? And what could her remains, and the earth that entombed her, tell us about the world she once walked? An initial study in 2015 offered clues about her life and her people. But now a new chapter is being written, one where technology allows us to go far beyond bones and into the invisible world of ancient DNA buried in the soil itself. The Red Lady of El Mirón was no fragile relic of the past. She was strong, resilient, and built for survival in one of the harshest climates the Earth had ever known. Analysis of her bones revealed a robust woman, hardened by the relentless rhythm of hunter-gatherer life. Her teeth told the story of her diet, rich in red deer and ibex, the great game of Ice Age Spain, with the occasional roots and berries of a frozen land. She was healthy, unscarred, and clearly valued, her burial marked by the deliberate touch of ritual and reverence. But bones alone can only whisper so much. They tell us how she lived, not who she truly was. What kind of world surrounded her? Who shared her cave? What bloodlines ran through her veins? Now, more than 19,000 years later, new technology has finally given her a voice. In 2025, scientists unveiled the results of a revolutionary study, one that pushed archaeology into an entirely new frontier. They used a groundbreaking technique known as sedimentary ancient DNA, or SEDA DNA. a method that can recover genetic material not from bones or fossils, but directly from the earth itself. Every living being, human, animal, or plant, leaves microscopic traces behind: skin cells, hair, blood, pollen, and waste. Over time, these fragments bind to the minerals within soil and rock, locked away for tens of thousands of years. By carefully sequencing these hidden strands, scientists can now reconstruct an entire ecosystem, long after the bodies themselves have vanished. And when they turned this lens on the Red Lady's cave, what they found was nothing short of extraordinary. The sediments of El Miron came alive with the DNA of a lost world, a menagerie of Ice Age creatures that once roamed the Spanish landscape. Among them were the familiar giants of the frozen north: woolly mammoths, reindeer, and woolly rhinoceroses, all perfectly adapted to the tundra. But there were also predators: cave lions, hyenas, and leopards, hunters that likely competed with humans for shelter and prey. Then came the surprise. Amid the DNA signatures, researchers found traces of a species no one expected: the daholi, or Asiatic wild dog. Today, these red-coated canids are found only in parts of Asia, but nearly 19,000 years ago, their range stretched into Europe, echoing with their distinctive whistles through the mountain valleys. Whether these creatures shared the cave, scavenged its remains, or were hunted as prey remains a mystery. But their presence adds another brushstroke to the vast canvas of life that surrounded the Red Lady. And then, the discovery that changed everything. Buried in the same sediment, scientists identified strands of human DNA, older than the Red Lady herself. The genetic signatures belong to the Fornal ancestry, a population of Western European hunter-gatherers who survived the peak of the Ice Age between 25,000 and 21,000 years ago. These were the people who endured the coldest centuries of the last glacial maximum by retreating to the southern refugees of Europe. Their world was shrinking, carved by glaciers and storms, but their genes endured. The Red Lady was one of their descendants. Her DNA carried their legacy, proof that even as ice consumed the continent, life adapted, survived, and evolved. But the Earth held one more secret. Deep in the same layers of sediment, scientists detected faint traces of Neanderthal DNA, ancient, fading, yet undeniable. These fragments dated back more than 40,000 years, long before the Red Lady's time, confirming that El Miron Cave had once been home to Neanderthals themselves, the last echoes of a vanished species. Though their bones had long since crumbled, their genetic shadow remained, embedded in the soil of the cave they once called home. The story of the Red Lady and the science of ctDNA has transformed how we study the past. No longer must we rely solely on what survives above the ground: the bones, the tools, the paintings. The Earth itself has become a living archive, preserving the genetic memory of entire worlds long forgotten. Through these new methods, we are not just studying ancient remains. We are resurrecting lost ecosystems, rebuilding vanished civilizations, and hearing the whispers of those who walked before us, one grain of soil at a time. Without ever disturbing the Red Lady's resting place, scientists had uncovered an entire world, layer by layer, molecule by molecule. This new non-invasive method has redefined what's possible in archaeology. By analyzing the soil itself, researchers can now peer into the deep past without lifting a single bone from the earth. It's a revelation that opens endless possibilities, a doorway to secrets once thought lost forever. Through sedimentary ancient DNA, the ground beneath our feet has become a time capsule, one that may yet reveal extinct species, unseen migrations, and forgotten human stories buried by millennia of silence. But the Red Lady's story echoes far beyond her cave in northern Spain. Across Paleolithic Europe, the same haunting symbol reappears: the deep red of ochre, spread across the bodies of the dead. From the ochre-stained skeletons of Paviland in Wales to the Ice Age burials of Sunghir in Russia, this crimson ritual binds our ancestors together across time and distance. It speaks of something deeply human, a shared understanding of mortality, of memory, and of what might await beyond death. The ochre was more than color. It was meaning. It was belief made visible, a pigment that turned death into a ceremony and loss into legacy. And now, thanks to breakthroughs like sedimentary DNA, those silent rituals can speak once more. Each discovery connects us not only to the Red Lady of El Miron, but to every ancient life that came before her, every culture that buried its dead with care, and every hand that painted red across the bones of the fallen. As science advances, so too does our ability to listen, to hear the faint whispers of the earth itself. Because the past is not static, it's alive, shifting, changing, revealing new truths with every grain of soil uncovered. The Red Lady's legacy reminds us that history is not just written in stone and bone, it's written in the dust beneath our feet. And somewhere out there, buried deep in forgotten caves and lost valleys, countless other stories are still waiting to be found. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the ancient world. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible discoveries from the frontiers of archaeology, science, and human history. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and remember, the Earth never forgets.